Welcome to episode 58 of the Cohesive Home podcast. I'm Kate, and today my co-host Melissa Reisenhoover is chatting with Lindsey McCoy, co-founder of Plaine Products, a company that produces low-waste, vegan, and non-toxic hair and body products. If you're interested in the zero or low-waste lifestyle, you are going to love this inspiring interview. Lindsey, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. I appreciate you taking time to chat with me. I would love to kind of just dive right in and let our audience know a bit about you and your backstory and how Plaine Products really got started.
Sure. Well, Melissa, thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here. I did not have a typical entrepreneurial journey. My background is actually in nonprofit management. So I worked in the nonprofit world for the last 20 years, giving away my age. And the last 10 of it happened to be in the Bahamas. My husband is actually from the Bahamas, and we got to live on a beautiful small island there. And I, just because I lived in Boulder, Colorado, became an environmental expert in the community. I didn't really have any other experience other than living there. And there was a nonprofit that had gotten a nature conservancy grant and needed someone to help grow it. And I became that person, which was a wonderful experience. I got to do a lot of environmental education, work with a lot of scientists, and through that work became really more aware of plastics and single-use plastics and the problems that they're causing. And then also living in a country, both on an island and one that doesn't have the infrastructure that we have here in the States to sort of just make things disappear when we're done with them. I saw visually, the plastic piling up in the waters, on the beaches, on the roads. And so I started taking some steps in my own life to use less plastic. And then when we decided to move back to the States a few years ago, I thought maybe I could solve some of my own problems and help some other people solve their problems by starting this company. So I actually called my sister, who is much more of a product hound than I am and has a design background. And together it took us about a year and a half, but we founded Plaine Products.
Other than knowing and seeing firsthand the issues with plastic, what was kind of that aha moment where you said, this is the product, this is what we're going to do?
Funnily enough, I mean, it sounds cliche, but I was in the shower.
Yeah.
And I, was looking at all of those bottles that we all have. And I was like, ugh. I couldn't find anything that would allow me to get rid of all those plastic bottles. I tried shampoo bars, and for whatever reason, they just didn't work with my hair.
I've definitely tried those, yeah.
I know. I think, I'm sure there are people that they do work for. It's just not me.
Yeah.
And I'm not, super picky. But anyway, I was like, this is an area where I can't find a solution. And I've looked, maybe other people need this problem to be solved too. And it was just kind of a place to start. Mm-hmm. I felt like there's a lot of water bottles out there. There's a lot of bag companies, but I sort of saw this hole, and I was like, let's just start here and see what happens. And we've sort of become, the people that help you getting all of those plastic bottles out of your bathroom.
That's so cool. Well, I personally use the product. I mean, that is actually how I connected with you, is because I was looking for a solution. And so I absolutely love it, because I am kind of picky with my hair products. I want to make sure that, it's good on color safe hair, that it's doesn't weigh my hair down, but also the conditioner detangles and actually works, right?
No, I mean, I think that, that was something that my sister and I felt very strongly about, was that you shouldn't have to compromise on quality just because you're trying to do something good for the planet and for yourself. I mean, yes. Less chemicals is always a good thing. And that's part of why it took us almost 2 years to launch the company. We went through a crazy amount of manufacturers and people to try and find a product that we were both happy with. And, she is a little bit more picky, which was great, because I knew if I could make her happy, that most people would like the product.
Would like the product. Yeah. Well, I absolutely love it. So the chemical free aspect is one of my biggest points. I mean, other than it being free of plastic, or recycling it through your company, that was just like the icing on the cake. But the biggest draw for me really was the chemical free aspect, because you guys work with the environmental working group, right? You make sure all of your ingredients pass their protocol, isn't that right?
Yes, yeah. So, I personally ran all the ingredients from this manufacturer through their database to make sure that I kind of double checked their statement that was a good product, because we had gone through a few other manufacturers that said it was good, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The chemical free was sort of a learning curve for me. I didn't have any background in this industry, and so as we're talking about the packaging, all of a sudden I said, well, if we're going to do this environmental packaging, it doesn't make sense to put a bunch of chemicals in it. And so you start doing research, and all of a sudden you realize how many crazy things are in most mainstream shampoos. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I encourage everyone to, read the back of their
Yeah.
personal care products. And if you see lots of words that you can't pronounce, that's, unfortunately, that's not a good sign. And it is kind of crazy what people get away with
Yeah.
putting in bottles that we put on our bodies.
I know, it's kind of amazing to me how you can't really have one without the other. Because if you are living this life based on your values, and your values are, okay, well, I don't want to create, this waste, but yet chemicals are part of that. I mean, they go hand in hand. So you kind of, you almost go down rabbit holes at times when you're like, and I can only imagine starting a company like this, you probably had many rabbit holes.
There are so many, and I'll be honest, I don't think, part of mixing it at your house and then using it immediately, there's always compromises that you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality for most people is that's just not something that fits their lifestyle. I mean, somebody said, I make mine at home. Why should I buy yours? And I was like, you shouldn't. Good for you. Keep
Yeah.
making it.
Yeah.
That's just not my life. I'm not even a great chef. I certainly wouldn't want to be making my own personal care products. I
Right.
can only imagine what that would turn into.
I've definitely tried. It doesn't always turn out great.
It does. I am the queen of the Pinterest fail. So
As I think most of us are.
yeah,
Honestly.
I dabble here and there, but it is not. That was not going to be a sustainable long-term
Yeah.
solution for me.
Well, I am appreciative of all of your hard work, because it definitely is paying off. I know that you obviously run this business that has this very obvious theme of being zero waste, but what does it look like for your family and at home? I mean, I'm sure you use the product, and that is great for your bathroom, but how about the rest of your kitchen and all of these things? How have you adopted this lifestyle and other aspects of your life?
I am a big proponent, and we try to sort of promote this through the company as well, of progress, not perfection.
Yes, I love that.
Taking small steps towards where we eventually want to be. I think if any lifestyle change can be overwhelming. If you all of a sudden decide that you want less plastic or less chemicals, or any, less gluten, anything in your life, I don't think it's helpful to just throw everything away and say you're going to make a complete change. It's hard to do. It's expensive. It's wasteful. It's all of those things. So, this is something that we have just slowly moved more and more. And as once you start carrying the bags and you actually start remembering them or keeping them in your purse, suddenly that doesn't seem so hard. And you move on to carrying straws, and then you just have them with you. And, we've switched over to beeswax in the kitchen instead of plastic cling wrap. And now that's fine. Everybody in the house is used to that. And carrying our water bottles. And, there are times when we're on a soccer practice and my son has once again forgotten his water bottle. And yes, we stop and get him a Gatorade. I mean, we are not going to have our trash thing in a mason jar by the end of the year. I mean, that's just not where we are as a family. But I am very proud of the fact that, we're down to like one sort of bag of trash every week or so, and our recycle can is full. We started composting, which was a huge deal for us. And I am still learning. I'm still more on the Pinterest fail side of composting than on the win side. But I'm trying.
Yeah.
I am, and I think that's, all you can do is
Hmm.
just keep trying and learning and, figuring out what works for you. And I think every step forward and, every one less plastic or toxic thing used is a win. And we need to celebrate that instead of feeling bad about all the other stuff we're not doing.
Oh, I totally agree. I love hearing that from someone in your position, being able to say it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to, you know, see these people that are seemingly so perfect in their zero waste, journey in their life. But I mean, especially with kids. I mean, how have your kids really have they taken ownership of this, or are they still? I mean, because I know I've got three, and it is difficult sometimes. They're like, "No, you're not going to bring that home. That is so wasteful."
It is, it's a constant conversation.
Yeah.
I will be honest, and sometimes, my son is on my side and make sure that nobody at the table gets a straw and is very vocal about it. And then we were somewhere else and we're getting milkshakes and he was like, please, can I have one and
Yeah.
have a straw? And I know it's in styrofoam, but I just really want it. And,
Yeah.
you know, that was a day when that was just going to be the way that it went.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we went with it. And, he knew I wasn't thrilled, but lots of other times he's great about it. And so we did it. So, it's a continual conversation. And I'm thrilled that he's aware of it. I'm thrilled that, we talk about it. And I think that is just kind of where you are with kids. I mean, they are so in the moment, it's hard for them
Mm-hmm.
to think about the long term consequences that we have to think about. But the
Yeah.
more normal it seems to him, the better. And
Yeah.
he's usually great about saying, like, hey, do you have a straw? Or, telling his friends about it, which is a win.
Yeah. I know. I think back to my childhood, and I can't really think too far outside of my immediate surroundings. As a kid, you think of yourself and you think of just the people you see, right? You don't
Yeah,
think of
we're in the
all
moment.
right. Yeah, you don't really. I mean, yes, you can watch a documentary or do these things and get excited, but at the same time, very quickly does your worldview become very narrow. And so it is a constant conversation here as well. I mean, and I could definitely do better on so many fronts, but
Oh,
I am so appreciative. I'm just so appreciative of your product though, because you guys make it so easy. That
that
aspect.
was
Yeah.
very much the goal. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a huge part of the conversations that we had when we were getting started is, again, there are refill shops around and I just sort of said in my life, getting an empty bottle out of the shower to a refill shop on the day and back in the shower, like it's just not where I am. And it's a barrier to me doing that. I mean, things sit by my door for days that I need to
Yeah.
drop off to my son's school where I am every day and I still can't get it there.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
it's just, looking at the realities and I applaud the people who do. I mean, again, don't not do that because we exist, but we were sort of selfishly created to solve our own problems and then other people who, were
Yeah.
in the same boat we're in of
Yes.
wanting to do better but needing it to be convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just that's just
Yes. It
that's
is.
just where we are.
It's kind of like a gateway too, right? You're kind of opening this portal
I hope
to.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, I very much, maybe it's the nonprofit girl in me, but, I love it that our products hopefully start conversations, raise
Mm-hmm.
awareness, can kind of be a gateway drug to sustainability.
Yeah.
And like, oh, well, now I've done this. And sometimes people can sort of get a taste for it. And I get lots of emails from people sort of saying, oh, I've done this. I want to do more. Like, where else can I go? What else can I replace? And we
Yeah.
try and provide that information on our blog and on social media, again, if you check out our Instagram page or our Facebook, we're not just always talking about ourselves. We're trying to share other companies
Mm-hmm.
that are doing this and other bloggers and other ideas because we really are about the lifestyle and the choices and not just about trying to push what we're doing.
Yes, I know. I love your Instagram because it's not just like product photos. It's you guys are sharing like really cool information from around the globe about the movement and about good things that are happening, and it's encouraging to see. And I have shared and I even Cohesive Home, we've shared a lot of your information that's been on your Instagram, like reshared it. So
Well,
I'm
thank you.
very appreciative.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but that's sort of the point to me is that, this is something that we actually really believe in, and I
Yeah.
really felt like all of our stuff needed to reflect that. And, even if somebody doesn't buy something, I still want them to be a part of this and feel included and, feel good about the actions that they're taking.
Right. So I know a lot of people that are listening, they probably have already, become aware of this just based on our community. I know a lot of them know about this lifestyle and they're aware. But for some people listening that may not know where to start, how would you get started with this? What are some practical tips that they can take away from this today?
I would just pick a place to begin, and whether that's, some reusable water bottles or reusable bags, or looking at the kitchen and getting glass, Tupperware and the beeswax wraps. I mean, just pick something that seems not too overwhelming and start there and integrate it into your family. And then, once you've got that down, then pick the next thing or the next room or the next whatever. And just, I really believe in taking things in bite-sized chunks so you don't get so overwhelmed. Um, and there's a lot of information out there. I mean, again, it makes it easier to wade through the internet if you're looking for something specific or a specific solution, than sort of, reading all these blog posts about all of the things you could be doing. I think it's easier to that, that kind of just makes people shut down a little bit because they're like, oh my God, I need to fix it all now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it's better to just sort of, like anything else, set a goal and achieve it and then move on from there.
Yeah. That's exactly what I tell my friends if they're even with diet or whatever. It's like pick one thing. One
Yeah,
thing.
you can't take on all 40 pounds at once.
No.
Like just,
Yeah.
you know, focus on a
Exactly.
few.
Exactly. I know change is hard and oh man, I know Kate and I we talk about this all the time just of how we could be better or
It
I don't
is
know.
hard. And I think the other thing that is part of that is I think we all get into these routines just,
Mhm.
out of habit to save time. And a big part of this is stepping back and not grabbing the same things that you grab every time you go to the grocery store, which takes thought. I mean, it takes some
Yes.
conscious effort to not grab the Ziplocs and the cling wrap and the plastic jugs of this or that. You kind of have to go into it, and it's a little bit about slowing down. It's a little bit about being more conscious, trying to give some stuff a little bit of thought. Maybe like we started getting our toilet paper from this company called Who Gives a Crap,
Oh,
and it's
cool.
all bamboo toilet paper. It's paper wrapped. There's no plastic. They donate toilets to countries in third worlds. I mean, they're a great company, but we had to stop and research them, and then now it's crazy. It's easy. It's the same thing. It just shows up when we need it. But it took a little bit of time to do that instead of just grabbing the thing off the shelf while I was already at the store. So that's the other piece I would say is it does take a little bit of mental energy to
Mhm.
break yourself out of this kind of disposable rabbit wheel that we all find ourselves on.
Yeah. Yes, it really does. I love what you said though about slowing down. I think that is so key, especially for our community. We talk about slow living and about just being intentional with our time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are being intentional with all of the other aspects of your life, why would you not be intentional with this? Even if it's one aspect, tackle your bathroom, tackle your kitchen, whatever, get rid of the cling wrap. So I just really like how you said that.
In the bathroom, there are also lots of other great swaps. I mean, there's bamboo toothbrushes out there now, and a ton of variety and styles. There's dental floss that you can get in these cool little glass containers instead of the plastic, and then they just send you like a little pod that you just refill it.
Really?
So it's not just the bottles. There are lots of switches out there, but it takes a little bit of time. I mean, it does, it requires you to get out of your routine and, I'm
Yeah.
still switching my son over and my husband, we're dragging him along, but when that's what's there, that's what they use. So we do have
Yeah.
the power of when you do the shopping, you get to pick what it is.
Yeah. Do you mind emailing me those links and I'll put those in the show notes because
No, I'd be
I
happy
want to
to.
know. I want to know, especially the floss, because that
Yeah,
is,
it's called dental lace and it is super cool. You can
oh,
even, I
cool.
mean, if you're a composter, you can even compost their
Oh,
floss
cool.
because it's natural.
Oh, so cool. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited. Okay, so I have to ask a question about grocery shopping, though. You mentioned
Yes.
in the grocery store. So, something that I have really been just, and I've mentioned it in other podcasts, I'm so frustrated about is almost having to choose between the more expensive non wrapped option or going to, like, say, Trader Joe's and walking
Hmm.
in and having, I'm saving money, but I am most definitely not saving the planet because everything is wrapped in plastic
I,
that's not recyclable. It makes me
I,
so mad.
I hear you
Yeah.
200%. And, I think it's something that we all struggle with.
Yeah.
And that's really what I mean about finding a balance. We did start getting, I'm in North Carolina and there's a company called the Produce Box and they will deliver like fresh produce, kind of farmer's market style to your
Mm-hmm.
house once a week. And,
Cool.
so that was a change that I was able to make. But I mean, when I was sort of talking earlier, I mean, yeah, there's still stuff in my house wrapped in plastic. Am I happy about it? No. But, you know, the more we ask people, the more we request it, the more people are talking about it. I think we will pull the industry in that way,
Yeah.
but it hasn't happened yet. And that's the reality of our lives. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we all have to do what we can. It's important to not give up, to keep asking, to keep talking about it, to try and buy where and when we can, to
Mm-hmm.
create the demand for it and to show that we care. I try really hard not to buy bananas wrapped in plastic on a styrofoam tray
Right.
because that makes me insane.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. I know
but
Trader Joe's at least has bananas that are not like they are freeform. I was very excited about that. But
yeah,
like
I
if you go
mean,
to Costco, they're in a bag and you're like, "What? Why would you put bananas in a bag?"
it just, I know they're already wrapped.
I know. It doesn't make any
Nature
sense.
wrapped them.
I know.
Um,
Exactly.
so, I mean, I think this is one of those places where you try not to beat yourself up too bad. You try to
Yeah.
make better choices when you can.
Mhm.
And, I think it is important though to, mention to the people like, oh, I'd love to see these not in plastic, or, oh, I bought these because they weren't in plastic. Those feedbacks, especially at more local stores, people listen,
Mhm.
and it's important to just keep having that conversation.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. Well, and we're starting to see it even in just in so many different aspects of our world. If you just, gain momentum enough and ask enough and, the still quiet voice becomes a little louder, right? So,
It does, and the more people who do it, it's amplified.
yeah.
And I mean, I don't think it needs to be nasty. I don't think it needs to be ugly. Just hey, it'd be great if this didn't have plastic on it, or
Yeah.
hey, have you ever, if you get local produce, that'd be great. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Support farmers markets.
Mhm.
They usually are bringing it fresh from the farm. So there are ways, there are workarounds. It's harder.
Yeah.
And I think having the conversation, I mean, it doesn't need to be ugly or confrontational, but just having those conversations, sometimes people haven't even thought about it
Right.
because
Yeah,
it's just the way they've been doing it for so long.
exactly. I know, just have
That's
it.
just what they do.
Yep. I know. But that's why I'm so proud and happy that Cohesive Home can be a platform where we can bring people like you on that are very
I,
normal
well,
and approach it in a normal way, or I should say, share this lifestyle in an approachable way, because it is sometimes so um, just hard to even
I mean,
start or think about.
I respect people who, I mean, it is amazing. There are people who are working so hard and
Yeah.
who really create minimal waste. And I respect them. That is a full-time job.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It is
It
it is a
is. It really is.
It really is. And if you can do that, and especially, the ones that are blogging and it's helping support them, I mean,
Hmm.
kudos. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
But,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
not where a lot of us are. So,
Right. So again, that's why I appreciate your product so much. Where do you see Plain Product going in the future? Do you guys have a vision for that, or are you just kind of staying where you're at for now?
it is a conversation that we are constantly having. We have grown. We're only 2 years old. We're actually going to have our anniversary February 14th, our second year
Wow.
anniversary.
No way.
Um,
I
yeah,
just assumed you guys have been doing it a little bit longer than that. That's awesome.
no, no, we are young, so we are excited about our potential for growth.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's just kind of figuring out, what the next thing is, because we feel like we've got a lot of opportunities. We definitely want to continue to add to the product line. We would love to be in more retail stores, just to, again, lower the barrier for people who don't want to shop online. Um, so no, stay tuned. I mean, and we have lots of stuff that we want to do, and I would love for nobody to have a plastic bottle in their home if they don't want to someday, and whether
Right.
that's us or that's in combination with other companies.
Yeah.
Grand ambitions.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I
that's
love
the
it.
dream, and not have to compromise on quality. And we'll see what that looks like in a few years.
Cool. Okay, so before I want to hear, or I want you to tell everyone where they can find you, where they can buy Plain Products. But before you do that, would you mind kind of explaining the process?
You know what? I was actually going to say I should probably do that, because
Yeah.
we are, as far as I know, the only company, I think, in the world right now that's doing this. And
Wow.
so it's a little confusing for people, just because it's so
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
So here's how it works. You visit plaineproducts.com. It's plain with an E. And order your products. And the first time you get them, they will come with pumps. And you put the pumps on. And then when you're running low, or you can subscribe and we'll do it automatically, you order a refill bottle, and those will come without pumps. Switch the pump over to your refill bottle when you run out. And then that box that the refill bottles came in have a return label. So you throw the empty bottles in that box, put the return label on, and it comes back to us. We cover the cost of the shipping. So, and then we clean, sterilize the bottles and send them back and get them refilled, and put them back out into the world.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have you partnered with other companies that are near you, or is this a global thing?
Um, it is not a global thing right now. We're just doing it in the US. It really doesn't make sense to be shipping the bottles back and forth over an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked to some other companies about trying to do this in other countries, but really, it would be we need to set up a whole system there.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
do ship to Canada, and we do have a partner there that will take bottles back for us in Canada, which is great.
Cool.
We have talked about partnerships, but you really have to be on board with this from the beginning, and so we haven't found anything that has worked yet, but that doesn't mean that we won't in the future.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so tell them where they can find you, because I know some
Yeah.
people are going to want to know.
Yes. So plaineproducts.com, Plaine products. And that is also our social media handle, at Plaine Products, on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter.
Awesome. And real fast, tell them, because I didn't know this until I watched some videos on your website, but the name, it was a riff off
Yeah,
of your maiden name?
it was. So my sister and I share the maiden name of Delaplane. It's French. And so our dad, actually, who unfortunately passed away, he would love this, always had small businesses when we were growing up. I mean,
Oh,
it was a ton of different things. It was vending machine, candy, air fresheners, invisible fence. I mean, there was always something crazy going on
yeah.
in our house. And so I think for us, when we were talking about this, either though, neither one of us had run a business,
Yeah.
it didn't seem that scary, because it was something Dad had always done.
That's so cool.
So, we probably were not as fearful as we should have
Yeah.
been jumping
It's in your
into.
blood. It's in your
Yeah,
blood.
it definitely felt like it was in our blood, and it was a nice way to kind of honor that
Yeah.
for him. And then
Yeah.
we also just kind of like the idea of, plain and simple, and it left us open to if we ever, when we expand out of the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
it would be general enough that we could kind of do whatever we wanted to do with it.
It's perfect.
So,
It's like it was meant to be. I love it. Well, and that what a way to
you,
honor your dad.
you
That's
know,
so
you,
cool.
you hope that you're in line with the universe some days, and some days
Yeah.
it's nice to feel like you are.
Well, I think the universe is pretty happy with you guys. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope that our audience learned some really cool things from listening to our conversation.
Yeah, no, you know what? I love these conversations, and again, love talking about these issues. I mean, if that's the real reason that we got into business was, a passion around these issues. So anytime, I'm always happy to chat. And thank you so much, Melissa, for having me on the show. It has been a total pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in trying out Plaine Products, Lindsey is generously offering 20% off with the code CohesiveHome. Head to plaineproducts.com to shop. That's PLAINE products.com. We'll see you next time.